So, if you spent the last few years thinking a closet full of Nikes was a better investment than gold, we need to talk. Because that massive, multi-billion-dollar sneaker resale bubble, yeah, it just burst.
And look, we're not just talking about a little market dip here. This is a full-on structural collapse of the hype economy. So today, we're going to do an autopsy. We're going to examine the evidence to figure out exactly what killed one of the biggest cultural phenomenons of the last decade.
Okay, so how on earth did we even get here? Well, first, we have to go back and understand the gold rush era. This was a time when buying and selling sneakers wasn't just a hobby, it was a legitimate and often incredibly profitable financial strategy.
And for a while there, it really felt that simple. You'd get a lucky win on a limited edition pair of shoes for maybe $200, and just days later, you could flip them for over $1,000. It was like printing money. And it created this entire ecosystem of buyers, sellers, and speculators.
Now, at the heart of this world were the sneakerheads. These aren't just consumers. These are enthusiasts, collectors, historians. They are deeply passionate about the culture. They were the original engine that powered this entire movement and gave it all its cultural credibility. And the scale of this thing was just staggering. This wasn't some niche hobby, okay? Experts were projecting the sneaker resale market alone would be worth $30 billion by 2030. It had become a massive financial force.
But you know how it goes. As all that money flowed in, so did something else. A new, corrupting influence. The game that was once about passion and a little bit of luck was about to get rigged on an industrial scale.
And this is the question that began to haunt every real fan. What happens when your chances of getting a shoe are no longer about how fast you can click, but about who has the most sophisticated software?
And look, this isn't speculation. This is an admission straight from Nike itself. The company confirmed that on its own app, the app that was designed to make releases fair, up to half of all entries for the hottest sneakers were from automated bots, not humans. The system was broken from the inside.
What's wild is that the sneaker problem was just a symptom of a much larger disease. You might have heard of the dead internet theory. Well, in 2023, research found that nearly half of all web traffic was generated by bots. So the battle for sneakers was really just a front line in a much bigger war for the soul of the internet.
But bots alone don't explain the mania. To understand why this market got so overheated, we have to look inside our own brains. What was it about the drop that was so addictive?
It all comes down to a simple but really powerful feedback loop. It starts with the anticipation, right? A new shoe is announced. Then comes the hunt. You're entering raffles, you're setting alarms. And finally, if you win, you get that incredible dopamine rush of the reward. It's a cycle that's chemically designed to be repeated.
And here's the crucial point. Neuroscientists have found that the biggest dopamine spike doesn't come from the reward itself. It comes from the anticipation of it. The thrill was truly in the chase. For so many people, the feeling of successfully copying the shoe was a bigger high than actually having the box in their hands.
And of course, brands weaponized this. They tapped into a powerful cognitive bias called loss aversion. This is basically the fancy term for FOMO, the fear of missing out. The idea is that we feel the pain of a loss about twice as intensely as the pleasure of a gain. So that sold out sign, it didn't just create desire. It created a powerful, almost irrational compulsion to avoid the pain of missing out.
So you have a market fueled by dopamine, FOMO, and bots, propped up by a seemingly invincible brand. What could possibly go wrong, right? Well, in 2026, everything did. Let's look at the data.
This chart right here, it's the scoreboard for the entire resale game. Back in the golden age of 2020, almost 60% of sneaker releases would actually make you a profit. Fast forward to 2026, and that number has plummeted to just 47%. The takeaway is brutal. A sneaker flip is now statistically more likely to lose you money than make you money. The entire economic basis of the game has inverted. And this breaks down the brutal new reality for flippers. After taxes, platform fees, and shipping, a reseller's all-in cost for a typical Jordan is around $258. But today, those same shoes are lucky to sell for $220. Resellers are literally paying $40 for the privilege of selling a shoe. The math simply no longer works.
So what happened to the king? Well, Nike made two fatal errors. First, just good old-fashioned corporate greed. They saturated the market with so-called limited shoes, like the Panda Dunk, which destroyed the very scarcity that made them valuable. Second, a massive collapse in their crucial China market just cratered global demand. The result? The fastest-growing Nike product on the resale market isn't a hype sneaker, it's a recovery slide. That says it all.
So, with the old king bleeding, a new world order has emerged. The collapse of the hype market didn't destroy sneaker culture, it just fundamentally changed who wins and who loses.
This slide shows the vibe shift perfectly. The ultimate flex is no longer the most expensive Air Jordan. It's now about comfort, irony, and that if you know kind of taste. The new kings are techie dad shoes from brands like Mizuno and even these bizarre yet sought-after sneaker loafer hybrids from New Balance. It's a whole new ballgame.
So what does this all mean for you? Well, if you are flipping shoes to pay rent, the game is over. It's time to find a new hustle. But if you're a true collector who loves the art and the history, this is a golden age. Prices are reasonable again. The smart money is now moving away from overproduced Jordans and towards genuinely rare, older pieces or limited runs from other brands like ASICS.
Ultimately, the speculative frenzy that was fueled by all that easy money is over, and what's left is a return to basics. The market is correcting, and sneakers are transitioning from being a financial asset back to being what they were always meant to be: shoes. Things you buy because you love them and you wear them.
But this leads us to our final question. We've seen the death of this version of the hype economy. But is hype itself truly dead? Or is it just sleeping, waiting to attach itself to the next big thing? Now that's something we're thinking about.